presenters. Our presenters today will be, for the Robobraille, will be Lars Bolle Christensen and Vlad Paul Kosma. So I kindly ask the presenters to say some things about themselves. Lars, I give you the floor.
Yes, I guess we were expected to introduce ourselves in the beginning of our presentation rather than right now, but of course we can do it at this stage. You got a bit of background on this slide at the moment, but basically I am a computer scientist and I've been working most of my career to develop tools and technologies to support people with special needs. I also work a great deal with digital accessibility. And I'm here with my colleague Paul Kosma.
Yes, hello, I'm Paul, and I am a software developer here at Sensus, and I'm mostly working on the Robobraille Web API project. And my background is software engineering, and I'm currently ongoing a master program in that direction, and of course working at Sensus.
Thank you very much.
That is it for me.
Thank you very much, both. You will have the opportunity to learn some more things about our presenters maybe later on when they present their solution. But now, let's go to Ignacio Peinado, who will show us some introductory information about the developer space. Ignacio, should I make you the presenter?
Hi, good afternoon or morning, everyone. Yes, please.
Okay. Good afternoon. Now we can see your screen. Yes.
Okay, so hi, as I said, good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are or where you listen this. My name is Ignacio Peinado and I work at Raising the Floor. Currently working on the project Prosperity for All. That's the main reason we are here today. And well, as part of Prosperity for All, we are developing a website that's called the Developer Space, the GPAI Developer Space. And what we want is to make this website, let's say, the one-stop place where anyone who is interested in developing any accessibility solution can come to get anything they need. So they can find, let's say, the information, they can start learning about accessibility, they can get components or any other resources that they can use to make their solutions more accessible. They can find people who are experts in the field or are testers or are people interested in the development of accessible solutions, and they can also show what they are doing. I mean, what we pretend to do is to support people who are developing accessible solutions all throughout the value chain. Let's say, since they have an idea, so they can look for people to validate their idea, to refine the idea through the development of the idea, so they can look for other developers who can help them build the specific parts. Through the marketization, we have links to other tools that we are developing, like the GPAI Unified Listing, that will be the, let's say, the most comprehensive database of assistive technologies, not only assistive technologies, but also accessibility features in mainstream products, let's say. So we also want to build, let's say, the one-stop place where users who are looking for a solution that fits their needs can go there and find the solutions that better fit their needs. So as you can see, well, this is the information architecture we have. As I said, well, we want to support people through all the value chains, so we have the resources where you can find, let's hope this works, bibliography. I mean, we're compiling all the bibliography we can find on the web about accessibility, so people can come here and find it in one place. We also have, this is like the core, that's the components, where we have the code components, or what we formerly called the building blocks. And here people who are developers who are developing accessible solutions can find, well, this is just a prototyp, please take it into account, it's a work in progress, so we're working to make it more appealing, let's say. You can also find tools like developer tools and services, such like the services we are developing within Prosperity for All, like the assistance on demand platforms, the multimedia transform capabilities, the platform to support financial transaction, etc. The people section where you can find the people you're looking for. Then the challenges. Here we will have two different types of challenges. Let's say we have tasks that we are implementing it right now. So if you're building something and you have one little task that you want to accomplish but you don't have the knowledge or the time, you can go there and put that you're looking for someone to complete that task. And also the challenges section where people can upload their challenges and offer bounties or prizes to the people who solve the challenges. And then, well, finally, the showcase is where people who are implementing, who are using our building blocks or resources to build the solutions can present the solutions. So, as I told you, this is just a work in progress. We are building it to make it better, but we will hopefully have it online soon enough. So that's the introduction I wanted to make about the developer space. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much, Ignacio. If you have any questions
You're welcome.
in general, you can contact also our presenters, since we will give you their email in the end of the webinar. So in case you have any questions that you don't have the time or you don't want to ask them now, you can contact them in person. Lars, I will give you the floor to continue with the Robobraille presentation.
Excellent. Right, so you should be able to see my screen now, and I'm going to switch to PowerPoint.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Great. So basically what we have here today in the PowerPoint presentation and the online demonstration is a walkthrough of the Robobraille service, where we're going to take you through a bit of the background of the service, and then we're going to show you a few examples of some of the conversions we can do using the service, and then we're going to switch to a more technical part that will take you through the Robobraille Web API that we've developed as part of this Prosperity for All project. The Robobraille service is intended as a self-service solution for those with special needs. The idea is that people with special needs with print impairments will go to a web page that can either be in the open or it can be a custom-made web page sitting on institutions' websites. They can then use the service to upload their own documents and decide themselves how they want the documents converted. We came up with the idea of Robobraille back in 2004 in order to provide accessibility support and inclusion support for our visually impaired students in the Danish K-12 system. And since then we have rolled out the service in most European countries. We're rolling it out in North America and elsewhere. So today it's a widely used solution amongst rehabilitation centers, special schools for the blind, special libraries, educational institutions, and so on. The Robobraille service includes 5 main workflows. First of all, you can use the service to upload documents then be converted into MP3 audio files. And MP3 audio files are great because they are very portable. They play on many different devices. That means that you can take the files with you. You can play them when you're commuting, when you're doing your workouts, when you're doing the dishes. It's also a great format for repeating your lecture notes and so on. The downside with MP3 is, as you know, that it's a linear format. It's just a long sequence of audio, so it can be difficult to navigate inside an MP3 audio file to find out where you are, to go to a certain page, or to find a particular chapter. So for that reason, we also support structured audiobook in the Robobraille service. And there are really two different formats in play at the moment. One is the old Daisy format, which is a disability type format originally developed to support people with print impairments, especially those with dyslexia and people with a visual impairment. It's being superseded these days with a mainstream format, just an ebook in the EPUB format with a media overlay on top of that. But pretty much they do the same thing. In a structured audiobook, you have the text, the audio, those two things are synchronized, so we can highlight as we go along and reading back the document to the end user. And in addition to that, you will find all the navigational aids that you need in order to find your way around the document. Then in the third workflow, you can use a service to convert documents into reflowable ebooks. By being reflowable, that means that you can scale up the text, you can substitute the fonts, you can change the color combinations, the background colors, foreground colors, the brightness, the contrast, substitute fonts, change the scrolling direction and so on of the ebooks. That makes ebooks great to accommodate people with low vision, and also we have found in many situations, especially the ability to substitute fonts and to change the scaling can also be used to accommodate those with the
Lars? Lars, we cannot hear you.
that is less inaccessible, more accessible, and less tricky. So this is, you can, for instance, convert your image-only PDF documents into Word files, into text documents, and of course also all the way into an MP3 audio file. This is also where you can upload pictures of text, maybe text you take with a smartphone. You will then end up with JPEG pictures that you can then upload to the service and have them converted into something that you may find more useful. A tricky document could be a PowerPoint presentation. PowerPoints are being considered quite difficult for many blind users using screen reader technology. So especially to accommodate our blind users, we have a number of conversion options available for us that allows you to convert your PowerPoints into web projects where you would then navigate your PowerPoint presentation within the context of a web browser. Also, we can convert PowerPoints into accessible PDF documents into RTF outlines. Some of these functions are language aware, like the audio services and the Braille services. The others are not really. But inside the service, you'll find support for a lot of languages, especially on the audio side. You'll find support for all the main European languages, some of the small European languages as well. We have support for American English, for Latin American Spanish, for Russian, for Arabic, English bilingual, for the 3 Chinese languages, Cantonese, Mandarin, and Taiwanese. We also have support for Japanese and Korean and a few languages beyond that. So there's really a lot of language support inside the service. The reasoning behind the Robobraille service, well, from a corporate point of view, from Sensus, we really develop and promote the Robobraille service in order to promote independence and self-sufficiency amongst those with special needs, especially in mainstream environments such as mainstream education and subsequently on the labor market. What it can really be used for, if you look at academic institutions, rehabilitation centers, and so on, is really availability to make sure that the documents can be converted whenever the need arises, wherever you are. So availability first and foremost. It is a fully automated service, and that means that there's no human involvement in it, and of course that also impacts the privacy. And just because you have special needs, that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to share what you're reading with others. Then the service can be used as a means of providing multiple different alternate formats to people with special needs, so that they don't need to rely on any single format that they are usually presented with. There's a positive cost implication of using the service, apart from the Braille output, where you still need costly equipment in order to be able to render the Braille. All the other formats that are being produced by Robobraille, you will be able to reuse and read on whatever hardware you already have using free applications and free apps. So you can reuse whatever smartphone technology, tablet, computer, laptop that you're using already. So those are the main reasonings behind adapting the Robobraille service. Our users, we really do welcome everybody to go and use it, including people from the mainstream who may find it useful. But having said that, our primary users will be those users with special needs, those who are blind, partially sighted, have a reading impairment, a learning disorder, a cognitive disability, a motor deficiency, anything like that that requires them to need access to material in alternate formats. At the one end, at the other end, we've got professionals, alt media professionals, rehabilitation workers, faculty members, and so on, who are there to produce material on behalf of others. And then we're seeing lots of other types of users, especially in the mainstream. One would be what we call the at-risk users, those who may not be the greatest of readers, people who can clearly benefit from the reading support that they can get out of the service. But maybe they don't qualify into the official programs, or maybe they don't want to qualify into the official programs because they don't want to be branded as being somebody with a disability. But of course, they're more than welcome to go and use the Robobraille service to convert their documents into audio material or any other material that they find useful. And then we're seeing other types of mainstream users using the service for a variety of different purposes. The most obvious ones would be foreign students coming in to a university where the teaching language is something else than their mother tongue. So of course they can use the service to convert documents into MP3 audio files and the other audio formats in order to get support, at least in the beginning until they pick up the language. But it could also be foreign language students who need when reading a text in a foreign language. It could be students who want to experiment with different learning styles to see whether they become more efficient learners if they mix modalities. It could be just mainstream users who want an easy way of converting image-only PDF into something more useful, or just as a way of converting material into an MP3 audio file that they can then listen to on the stereo. So there are lots of different uses of the Robobraille service. The technologies that you'll find inside the Robobraille service are not really new. These are all the usual technologies that are being used in order to convert documents into alt media. What Robobraille is really adding to the picture is a fairly easy to use user interface, at least if you look at it from an end user perspective, and then a number of automated workflows so that you don't need to be an expert in order to be able to convert documents into alternate media. So what you find inside the service we have listed at the top of the slide, text-to-speech engines, 30-some different text-to-speech synthesizers, text-to-Braille. We're using our own technology for that, a number of different open source projects used to convert documents into ebooks and into Daisy. We have a commercial OCR engine used in the service to process all our OCR jobs. It's running on a cluster of computers. And then look from an end user perspective, there are really two different interfaces to the service. One is the original interface to the service that was based on email. When we did an adaptation of the service for higher education and also for institutional use amongst rehabilitation centers, we decided to add a web-based interface to the service. And also getting information back from the service that is usually done by a combination of email and web. In all cases, we will mail back the result of the conversion to the end user. In case we can just attach the resulting file, we'll do that. But if the file is too big, we'll put it on our web server and we'll return a link, an encoded link to the user. At the left-hand side, you can see a list of the supported document types you can submit into the service: Word files, PowerPoints, HTML and XML files, various types of text documents, RTF documents, all sorts of different PDF documents, ranging from the image-only PDFs to the text-only PDFs, all the way through to the fully accessible tag PDF documents. With just one limitation, that is if there's a password for the document, then we won't be able to open up the file, so you would need to find a way of removing any such restrictions of the files. Then you can use the service to convert EPUB to Mobi. EPUB is what pretty much everybody is using for their ebooks. Mobi Pocket is what Amazon is using for their Kindle devices. But you can convert EPUB to Mobi, and you can convert Mobi to EPUB, and you can actually also submit EPUBs and convert those into text documents and into RTF documents. And then in addition, a whole range of different image type documents, so TIFF files, GIF files, bitmaps, JPEGs, and so on, can be submitted to the service for conversion. At the bottom you can see a list of the different languages we have support for. Like I mentioned, there's quite a lot of language support in the service. I'm not going to go through this again, but for English it would mean on the audio side support for English and for American English. On the Braille side it would mean support for the British English Braille code and for the Braille code of North America, and soon also for the Unified English Braille code. So if you go to the Spanish section, it would mean support for Castilian Spanish and Latin American Spanish using a Colombian Spanish voice on the audio side, and then on the Braille side support for the Spanish Braille code. So they differ slightly from language to language. At the right side you can see a list of the different output forms, but I already mentioned that in the intro, and I'm going to do a demonstration, so I'm not going to spend more time on that. So I did mention that there are a number of different user interfaces to Robobraille. From an end user perspective, this combination of email and web. Using the email interface, people will simply just forward documents to an email address, and they'll specify their options in the subject of the email. In the web-based interface, they'll be guided through the submission process, and we'll try to filter out any user mistakes on the way. So these are from an end-user perspective. If we look at it from a system integration point of view, for those who are interested in integrating the Robobraille service with learning management systems, with digital libraries, learning portals, there are a number of different options to choose from. Obviously, the email interface can be used for that. We have seen that done in various library solutions, and also we have seen it done in public libraries where photocopiers and scanning devices are integrated with the Robobraille service using email. Then we have an FTP-based interface where you can upload your documents and your job descriptions using FTP, and then the latest interface we have added as part of the Prosperity for All project is the Web API that we're going to go into more detail about. I can tell you that you do have some audio quality problems here. Is that still so?
No, I can hear you fine now.
Okay, great. So we're just going to continue. I'm showing you now the main interface to the Robobraille. I think I'm going to get out of and just open up the main interface here in my web browser. So if you want to play around with the Robobraille service, so and you can use the form to upload your document. I think I'll just skip out of the front page and look at the form itself, because it's a bit easier if you don't see what's going on here. So this is the web-based interface that you can either use the way that now, or it can be custom to fit into whatever it can be customized for institutional use. Let me give a few examples of how the service can be used. The at the top really just to select to select between the interface language of the service, and I think I'm just going to leave it at English.
They still seem to have audio problems.
There seems to be some audio problem.
Yes, it's just we don't hear you very clearly.
Let me see if we can do something. So how are we on the audio?
It seems clearer now. It seems better now. But it's not all the time. It's
okay.
Just
so let's go back. Okay, so let's go back to the web form. So there are three different ways of getting information into the service. You would either upload one or more files to the service. If you can point to a document using a URL, that is another way of doing it. Or you can simply just use the text box interface to paste or type in some text into the text box. I'm just going to be using the file upload. Then in order to use the web interface to the service, you always need to go through 4 steps. In step 1, you upload your document or your documents. In step 2, you decide how you want the document converted, the target format for the conversion. In step 3, you get to further qualify that with a few options, and they differ slightly from target format to target format. And in step 4, you type in your email address where you want the result of the conversion delivered. So let me go to my example files and upload a document. I was uploading this time a PDF document, the Princess and the Pea. A PDF document using Robobraille can be converted into an MP3 audio file. It can be converted into a Braille document, into an ebook, or we can do an accessibility conversion and convert it into something that may be more accessible or easier to use for the end user. So I'll just select the MP3 option here. I'm using the British English version of the web form, so that the form assumes that my document is in English and I have a preference for British English, but it may be that I know that the document is not in English. I may know that it's in Russian or in French, and I can then go and select the appropriate speed synthesizer. Or if I have a preference for American English, then I can go and select the American English speed synthesizer. I can also, for MP3 files, I can set the speed of the audio ranging from the very fastest to the very slowest. The faster options are there to accommodate visually impaired users. They frequently like to increase the speed of the audio, where reading impaired users, they sometimes like to decrease the speed of the audio. And then lastly, in step 4, I need simply just to type in my email address and then submit the job. I'll then get a receipt, and then it will take anywhere from a couple of minutes to a couple of hours before the conversion has been completed. It really depends on the size of the document, the shape that the document is in, and how you have asked to have your document converted. So if we go and have a look at the document, just need to go and locate my example files. Then we can have a look at the document itself. So we can see here it's simply just a plain text file. It's just an image-only PDF document. What we do with a document like this is that we run it through our OCR engine. We clean it up when it comes back, so it will come back with lots of optional hyphens and other clutter that we delete from the file. And then we do a bit of normalization. If you've tried to work with TTSs, you know that the pausing of a document is usually done by looking at the punctuation of the document in the headings and in the byline. Here you can see that these are not terminated by periods, so we're actually adding those periods in order to get a more natural sounding audio out of it. We don't have to wait for the service to come back to us, because I did prepare myself before, so we can just play back the audio file. This is what will come back from the service.
The Princess and the Pea, a story by Hans Christian Andersen. Once upon a time there was a prince who wanted to marry a princess, but she would have to be a real princess. He traveled all over the world to find one, but nowhere could he get what he wanted.
So that should give you an idea of the quality of the audio. Let me show you another example of a document conversion we can do with the service. I'm just going to sort my files here. So what I'm showing you now is an accessible document. So this is not a document that comes in the form of something scanned, but a Word document that contains some math equations. These math equations have been created, authored using a proper equation editor, and saved out as a Word file. What we'll do with it, if we were, for instance, to convert it into either an ebook in the EPUB format or into a talking math book in the Daisy format, is that we'll save it out as an XML file with the math as math ML, and then we'll take the conversion from there. So one of the examples we can, or one of the things that we can convert it to using the Robobraille service, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to find the same document here, upload it to the service, and then in step 2 we can see I now get two additional options. Since we have a few more options available for docx files, I can now also convert it into a Daisy structured audiobook if it contains math. I've got a separate option for that, so I'm just selecting the Daisy math full text full audio option. In step 3, I get to select the user interface language, and then in step 4, I simply just type in my email address and submit the job. So it will come back within the next 10 minutes or so, but again, I did prepare myself so we can open up the resulting file and get to listen to what was actually created here. So here I got the same document just now as a Daisy book. I'm opening it up in a Daisy player. I can now navigate the document using the heading structure of the document. I can scale up the text, scale down the text, change the colors and so on. And what I can also do is that I can have the document read out to me.
The definition of a quadratic equation is any equation that can be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a not equal to 0. By completing the square on this generic equation, you arrive at the quadratic formula x equals fraction minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac and root over 2a and fraction. This formula can then be used to solve any quadratic equation.
So that should give you an idea of what we can do with math. We do have a number of different math conversion options available in the service. The last example I would like to show you is the ability to create multilingual documents using the service. I again have a document here that's accessible. It means that it complies with the accessibility guidelines. Basically, I've set up the master language. I have marked up any changes to the natural language of the document. I have a proper nested heading structure. I provided metadata in the document. So this is a document that is in compliance with the accessibility guidelines. The master language of the document is set up to be in British English. I explicitly said the second English section should be in American English. Then I got a French section, a German section, 2 Spanish sections, and a Danish section. I can now use a service to convert this into an ebook in the EPUB format with a media overlay on top of that. As part of the process, the converter will look into the document to see what the master language is, and then also any changes to the master language, and then select the most appropriate speech synthesizers for each of the different sections. So I can use the service to convert into this EPUB3 type of document. So I'm just going to locate my document. I'm going to upload it to the service. I'm going to select ebook as my output format, and then in step 3, where I get to further qualify my selection, I'll select the EPUB3 with the media overlay, and then lastly simply just type in my email address and submit the job, and then just need to go back and find some kind of application that will actually be able to read this document back. So you need an ebook reader that is capable of reading EPUB3 with a media overlay. So this is also an example of how you can use the service together with free tools and free apps. I'm using Medium here. You could also use Adobe Digital Edition and other ebook readers in order to read back the document. So opening up the same document as before. One of the things we can do now is that we can generate a table of contents based on the heading structure of the document. This is not a feature of Robobraille, but a feature of having the document is in this particular format. I could also change the fonts. I could change the color combinations and so on. And I can also have the document read out to me.
British English. The purpose of the present convention is to promote, protect and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by all persons with disabilities, and to promote respect for their inherent dignity. American English. The purpose of the present convention is to promote, protect and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights, fundamental freedoms by all persons with disabilities, and to promote respect for their inherent dignity. French. La présente convention a pour objet de promouvoir, protéger et assurer la pleine et égale jouissance de tous les droits de l'homme et de toutes les libertés fondamentales par les personnes dignité intrinsèque.
Right. That was pretty much what we had intended to show you in terms of demonstrations, at least of the web-based interface. We're going to show you a few more things using the Web API in a second. So Robobraille and the Prosperity for All project, the aims of that particular project was to create an open source component-based version of the Robobraille framework. As I showed you on the slide before, Robobraille today is made up of the Robobraille framework and then a number of commercial components and open source components. So the purpose was really to take the framework part and convert it into an open source version. Also, we have added a web-based or a Web API interface to the Robobraille service for those who are interested in setting or in integrating with other systems with the service. We have created an implementation guide, and then we have created interfaces to a number of emerging technologies. Some of them are provided by some of our partners in the Prosperity for All project, like the captioning services that will allow you to submit a document, at least in theory, that contains embedded video and have that video captioned. But we also added stops for language-to-language translation technology that is not really mature yet. The same goes for semantic structure recognition, where we today are capable of recognizing quite a lot of the semantic structure of a document, but not important elements like headings and so on. But we've added stops in the interface that will allow us to add those technologies once they mature. So, and with that, I think I'll hand over to Paul, and he can take you through the technical implementation of the service.
Thank you, Lars. So I will go through a more technical overview of what is Robobraille Web API. And it's basically a server-side solution for managing accessible document conversions. From the Robobraille website, we have developed and refined it over the years to work with more diverse use cases and handle a variety of conversions. It is HTTP-based RESTful API solution. This means that it is language independent, so developers can create applications on top of the API in any programming languages they wish. The core is programmed in C#, and it has various demos that use jQuery, Angular, JavaScript, HTML technologies. It is ASP.NET Web API 2 project, and it uses a Microsoft SQL Server database for storing client information, user information, jobs, and the resulting files along with their input parameter. The Web API provides a framework for accessible document conversions, and it must be tailored to fit individual needs. And to that sense, the architecture is very adaptable and flexible. As you can see in this slide, the Web API solution is in the middle. It has a database, and it links to various conversion libraries or web services or any other batch processing tool that can actually handle the conversion, whereas the Web API manages those conversions and takes care that the input and the output are consistent. Then on top of the Web API, on top of the project, we have the Web API, which client applications can connect to. And by client applications, they can be other servers or web apps or even phone applications. In more detail, the architecture is accepting requests as encoded multi-part form data. So all the requests that come in through the Web API have the input parameters and the file that will be converted. It uses API controllers to handle the requests, and they are modular, so there is a controller that handles text to Braille, the controller that handles text to audio, and so on. All the requests get processed according to their conversion type. In the end, the requests become jobs, and they are processed in their own repository. The repository handles the conversions or delegates the tasks to other DLLs. The job results are stored in the end in the database where the user can retrieve them at any time. Requests can be chained to accomplish more complex conversions, such as making OCR conversions to audio. So in order to have an image converted to audio, you would first convert the image to text and then chain the request to have text to audio, and you get the desired output format. So basically the client application works with handling requests and getting responses from the API. In the beginning, the client will send a post request with the source file and conversion parameters, and the Robobraille API will return a job ID, which has to be stored by the client application. And with that job ID, the client application can check the status of the job, and when it is finished, it can get the result file from the API. Of course, for larger files or for more complicated processes, the tasks take longer time. Here I have a small demo application showing Postman, which is a REST client, and this is to illustrate the skeleton of the solution, how post requests are made and how the result is retrieved. So let's play the video. Here I create a post request from text to MP3. I use a HOC authentication mechanism, which is a token-based authentication. This can be disabled if the solution is intended to be used by everyone and not given as a service. Now this is the body of the request. I attach the file and specify the parameters. I send the job to the service and I get the job ID back. I copied this job ID and I can now use it to get the status of my job. As you can see in a simple browser, just by going to the following link and showing the job ID, I get an answer which is 1. This means that the job is finished, and I can further use the job ID to get the result, which will come back as an MP3 file downloaded there. So now this was this video, and I will talk a bit about what it takes to have this web API solution running on your own installation. The first step, of course, is to download the source code and then set up the server environment, which may involve tasks such as creating the database and making the database scripts, configuring IIS and Java runtime, and also if you want to improve scalability of your solution, set up some clustering on the servers and install message queuing, Erlang, RabbitMQ. The project also requires a bit of setup in the folder structure and its bin directory. Also, the configuration files need to reflect those changes, and by those changes I mean the paths towards the directories where temporary files get stored between conversions, or where the project will access batch processes or will call other solutions to handle conversions. In order to further develop the project, Visual Studio has to be used. It is the development environment used to make the project, and once opening the project in Visual Studio, all the project dependencies need to be set up, making sure that the web services are callable and that the DLLs are properly configured. And the last step, of course, is to build the project and publish it to any .NET server. Other features besides the core are the integration with Amara to retrieve subtitles from videos based on URLs from video streaming websites such as YouTube or Vimeo. Document structure recognition stub without the conversion library, just to show the typical input-output scenario for document structure recognitions. A language-to-language translation stub has been also made that could integrate easily with REST APIs such as Google Translate API. Then there is a demo client application, which I will show shortly, that has been created to illustrate any kind of application that can be built on top of it. And in the end, there is the token-based authentication using Hawk, which is an added security feature. Again, if you need to provide the solution as a service. Then there is also a demo user management page to manage clients that will use the Web API solution. So in this final demo, I will show the demo application called Robobraille SPA, which stands for Single Page Application. It has been made in Angular with the Angular framework. And so this conversion will illustrate the docx to EPUB3 with media overlay. First, it's similar to the Robobraille interface, it just has been made with the Web API. So the step is to select the file, select the output, EPUB3 with media overlay, and submit the job. And now some information will appear that the job is processing, and as you can see in my cluster in the server, there is a batch process handling the actual conversion from the docx to the EPUB3, and it has several steps, and it may take some time if the job is really big. So the result is here now, and as you can see, it has been downloaded almost instantly once it has been finished. So yes, this is it for my technical part of the presentation, and if you have any questions, comments, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. So that is really the conclusion of our presentation. So do you have any questions or any comments at this stage?
Thank you, Lars, for the great presentation. I have a question. Is there any limit of upload files or so for the conversion, or is it just, I don't know, are there some different types of licensing also if you have to convert a big amount of files, or is it for free in all cases?
Yeah, basically there's a license question, and then there's a size question. we're limiting the size. That's the easy question. We're limiting the size of uploadable documents to 64 megabytes in size, but you can upload multiple documents if you want to do that. In terms of licensing, then the Robobraille service for personal individual use is free. So, but it also means that it's not allowed to use the free Robobraille service if you are an institutional user. So in those cases, you would need to take out a subscription for the service. In all cases, we're not limiting how much the service can be used, how many documents you can upload, and so on. But if you are an institutional user, or if you are enrolled in an institution who is responsible for taking care of your special needs, then you will need to take out a subscription to the service. So, of course, the alternative is that you set up your use the framework that we have developed, and you invest in setting up the infrastructure yeah, to run it, and then, of course, you can run your own service.
And in terms of the open source version of the framework which is set up, it has an Apache 2 license, so it can be further developed on GitHub by the community base.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
In case you submit a picture like a JPEG, is there OCR running over this picture, and it extracts the text and then generates the desired format from the text?
Yes, if you submit a JPEG picture of a text, then of course, depending on how you ask to have it converted, it will be converted and recognized. So, for instance, if you submit it and want to have it converted into a Word file, then we will do a decent job in OCR processing it and also trying to recognize as much semantic structure as possible. So things like footnotes, things like columns, like tables and so on, will do a decent job in recognizing those features. What we won't be able to recognize is the heading structure of the document.
Okay, okay. And the second question, please. We have a student actually developing a Braille display, an active Braille display, and he's struggling with the formats those proprietary Braille displays use. Could you recommend us maybe a format which is documented, which is supported, so that he can look into this to build his own active Braille display?
Yeah, Braille formats, I guess we're talking about.
Yeah.
I would. It's a difficult question, because of course there'll be the question of getting hold of a driver to drive that particular interface, and I know that has been an issue where people tend to use open source versions of some of the commercial Braille displays out there. What I would recommend that you do is to go and look at the Swedish Library for the Blind. They have developed something called the Portable Embosser Format, or PEF.
Sorry,
and it actually comes.
I couldn't get exactly what you said. Okay, could you maybe type this into the chat window, because it's hard for me to understand some words.
Yeah. So if you look, I'm just going to write here. Look at PEF formats. Yeah, so if you look at this site, the pefformat.org, this is an invention by the Swedish Library for the Blind in an attempt to resolve some of these issues of having many different Braille character sets running on devices. So you may also want to consult the resources section on the Robobraille site. There is a guide on how to use the Robobraille service to produce Braille, and also some background information about different Braille formats.
Okay, thank you very much. This is really helpful. Did you already put this into the chat window? I don't see any information there.
It's because I'm writing to the organizer for some reason. I can only chat to the organizer for some reason. That is strange. Let me do something else then. So where you want to have a look is...
Thank you. Thank you. It's there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So anything else? Okay. Thank you so much for your attention. If you come up with additional questions, then feel free to write to either myself, if it's a matter of functionality or implementation, or to write to my colleague Tanya, if it has to do with collaboration, institutional use, licensing, and so on. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Die machen etwas Gescheites.